Je vous laisse rejoindre vos places tandis que Michel Cabirol va venir échanger tout de suite justement avec le président de l'Agence spatiale européenne, Joseph Aschbacher, par le truchement de la visioconférence. Les réponses de M. Aschbacher se feront en anglais. Je vous laisse donc le soin de télécharger l'application Interprefy si ce n'est déjà fait. Mais vous parlez tous anglais couramment, fluently, on m'a dit. À tout de suite.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Bonjour Joseph Aschbacher, je ne sais pas si vous nous voyez. Bonjour Joseph, très heureux de vous accueillir. Vous êtes évidemment le directeur général de l'Agence spatiale européenne, l'ESA. Pour la précédente table, nous avons beaucoup de sujets sur, si j'ose dire, sur le feu, puisque l'actualité spatiale est dense actuellement, en tout cas pour tous les 3 derniers mois de l'année. On va commencer par le budget de la NASA, qui a un budget qui va être dévoilé en octobre. Ce que je voulais vous demander, est-ce que la situation a évolué et quels seraient les programmes en coopération avec l'ESA qui pourraient être directement affectés, soit par des coupes budgétaires, soit par des annulations? Merci Joseph.
Yeah. Oui, bonjour, bonjour Michel. I'm very happy to talk to you. I'm sorry that I cannot be in Toulouse. I would like to be there. Believe me, I know it's a very interesting conference and a number of topics. I had the chance to listen in a bit before, and very interesting debate. So on your question, Michel, on the United States and the budget of NASA, you all know the fact that the White House has proposed a large reduction of the budget by about 25% overall, and science in particular is affected by about 50%. However, both the House of Representatives and the Senate have come with amendments, and they are proposing an increase, meaning that they would propose that the NASA budget stays at the same level as this year for next year's budget. So the negotiations are still ongoing. We do not know yet the result, but what it shows to me and to many of us, and I'm sure also to all of you in Toulouse, is that we have a huge uncertainty in terms of budget decisions in the US. Even if the decision this year will lead to, I would say, a budget that is similar to last year, you do not know what the decision will be of next year, the year after, and so on. So there's certainly an uncertainty that we are now experiencing that we have not seen before, especially both France, but also ESA. We have been working with NASA for decades on a very stable cooperation framework to the benefit of both sides. Both NASA has benefited from it, and of course, certainly we also in Europe. So this is really now being, I would say, put in question whether this relationship that we have had for many decades is still existing in the same way. So I do not want to speculate, of course, what the decision will be in the United States. It's a government decision on their side, so it's difficult to first of all, it's difficult to expect and to estimate, but also I don't want to speculate. But one thing I can reassure you, Michel, and colleagues also in the conference, that we have been preparing for this since a long time. I've asked my teams to really work on what we would call Plan B and backup scenarios. We are ready whenever the decision will be made. And my main message to the member states of ESA and of course my own team is that I would like to increase the autonomy and the strength of Europe. We have seen very clearly that we have been weak in some senses in terms of being too exposed with our programs compared to, say, the United States, in this case, the NASA budget. So we need to reinforce our own technical capability in order to be a strong partner. And that does not mean that we do not want to cooperate. We want to cooperate. We will deliver our part as promised, as agreed through internationally signed agreements. So we will deliver our portion. But in case something is changing in this overall cooperation, we are ready for alternatives and reinforcement of our own activities. Maybe just to put it in context, the budget of ESA is about 7.7 billion, as you know, this year. The domains where we cooperate with NASA is only 5% of our budget. So it's not a large portion, but it's strategic. It's important because it has to do with astronaut flights. It has to do with exploration of low Earth orbit and the moon and also Mars. It's a very visible cooperation we have, but in terms of budget, it really is only a small portion compared to the overall budget. So yes, we have to make sure that we become stronger and more autonomous and more resilient in the future, also in these domains of international cooperation.
Joseph, les incertitudes du budget de la NASA, est-ce que ça complique la préparation de la conférence ministérielle de Brême, puisque vous avez des plans B, des plans C éventuellement pour compenser le retrait dans certains programmes des Américains? Est-ce que ça complique cette préparation de la conférence ministérielle? Et plus largement, quels sont les enjeux stratégiques et les priorités de l'ESA pour cette prochaine conférence ministérielle de Brême?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It complicates, of course, our preparation. We have a workshop with the head of delegations planned for the 19th of September on exploration itself. So to really have the latest updates and these plan Bs and Cs, as you mentioned, how they could look like. But stepping back a bit and where are we in the preparation of the ministerial? There I have to say we are in very good shape. We have been preparing the proposal for the ministerial since a year and a half, very much in detail, from Earth observation to navigation to telecommunications to launches, planetary safety, and many other domains. So there we have a very detailed description of what we plan to propose, including the financial framework. You know that the financial framework is at the moment in the order between 22 to 23 billion. We may make latest adjustments in our meetings in the coming weeks, but this is the order of magnitude. Sometimes people may say this is a high amount, and I'm very conscious of the budgetary situation in France in particular, but let me put it the other way around. If you look at the global share of Europe in space compared to the United States or China, Europe today has about 10% of the public spending in space. The public spending in space last year was 122 billion, and Europe's share is 10%, the United States 60%, China 15%. So you see we are about 1/6 of the budget of the United States, just to compare and put it in the global context. So from that perspective, Europe has to catch up. We have to catch up because we are risking of falling behind. The share today is 10%, but 5 years ago, in 2019, it was 15%. So we have been falling back from 15% to 10% at the global scale. Although our budget in absolute terms has increased, and this is a bit the contradiction, if I may say, that we have got an increased budget over the last few years, but relative to the rest of the world, it is decreasing. And this is something that worries me a lot, and not only me, I know many people also, I'm sure the ones sitting around you, Michel, in Toulouse, that our share of the global market, the global participation is decreasing. And this is especially important because space, the space economy, as we know, is about 500 to 600 billion today. It will triple by the next decade. 1.8 trillion is a figure that you hear quite often. That means on average, the space economy is growing by about 10%, 9 to 10% per year. So in a sector that is growing so fast economically, of course, we have to make sure that the European contribution is in line with that. If I just take this growth of 9 to 10%, and I take the figures of the last ministerial in 2022, and if you take this 10% growth per year, our target figure should be 25 billion. 25 billion. This would be just to go with the flow. That means with the target figure of the global growth of the space economy. If I'm proposing 22 to 23 billion, we are already below the target figure. So what I'm saying is that our proposal may sound ambitious, but it is not at all ambitious. But of course, I have adjusted it to the reality of the economies in Europe, and of course, France being one important country, where I really hope and I really count on a strong France, because it is essential for for your country, for the economy, for industry, also in the European context, because your technology is essential, is critical on many programs together with many other countries, of course, involved. So it is really essential. And I can only ask everyone in the room here and everyone who is listening to this to really take it very serious, because this is a very decisive moment for Europe, leave alone the argument of security, defense, autonomy that we need to strengthen as well, in addition to the economic argument. And yes, we really need to find, and we really need to have a good ministerial in Bremen for the benefit of Europe and for the benefit of the countries who are participating in the programs.
Malgré les incertitudes politiques en France, est-ce que vous êtes toujours vraiment confiant d'atteindre les 22-23 milliards d'euros de budget sur la période 26-28?
Yeah, no, it's certainly, I would say, an ambition that we need to. Let me put it a bit the other way around. If you look at I've been talking about the figures and the money as a target, but you should really, of course, look at the content. So what do we have in this in the program proposal? We have a very strong, solid Earth observation activity in Europe. Copernicus is the leading program worldwide on Earth observation. But with Copernicus, we have Future-EO, which is the envelope program to build up technologies, Earth Explorer missions, and making sure that digital twins and similar things are being built up. And this is certainly a priority also in our package, together with, of course, some of the more value-added projects where the real money and the real commercial gain is made. Navigation, Galileo, and Galileo with LEO PNT is certainly, again, among the world leading programs, top technology that we have developed in Europe. We have just celebrated last week 30 years of Galileo, which was a beautiful celebration. I was really seeing industry, the European Commission, ESA, very well aligned and a very strong team. And really thank you to all the people who are working on this to make this success possible. Telecommunication, IRIS², we have to catch up. We have to make sure that we are gaining and catching up on some of the time that we may have lost compared to others, to really make sure that we have our own secure communication activity. Exploration, Moon, Mars, low Earth orbit, space science. We have some of the really outstanding science missions already in orbit, and we will continue on science and space science activities in the next years to come. Planetary safety, to make sure that we are protecting our planet also with space weather measurements, and Ramses, which is a mission to monitor the asteroid Apophis, which will come in 2029 towards our planet Earth. So there's a lot of activities we are having in our portfolio, and of course, very important for France, access to space, launches, a continuation of the Ariane 6 exploitation, Vega C exploitation. I hear that Teodoro Valente is with you. Very special and warm greetings also to Italy and Teodoro, because launcher and access to space is crucial for Europe, and obviously there France as a priority, including also the launcher challenges which we have. So it's a lot of activities we have, very important, all of them, and it's a program. I think it's fair to say that the content is liked by everyone. It's just a matter of how much money they can find to fund it, obviously, to make sure that all these ambitions are being implemented properly.
Vous, Joseph, en tant que directeur général de l'ESA, qu'attendez-vous du futur budget de l'Union européenne, le futur cadre financier?
Yeah, the MFF proposal is now published. So we have a budget of 131 billion that is foreseen for defense and space. So it's not separating space. So we do not know the exact number. But this is very good news that there's an ambitious program on the table. I'm working very well with Commissioner Kubilius in preparing our program of the ESA Ministerial in complement to the EU MFF preparation. One good example is ERS, European Resilience from Space, which will develop into the future Earth Observation Government Service of the Commission, EUGS. And this is really where the Commission goes hand in hand with ESA in developing future flagship programs. We have done this for Copernicus and Galileo. Now we do it for IRIS², and the next one will be EUGS or ERS. And this is really showing that the MFF cycle and the ESA cycles are well aligned, and we really have complementary functions, but also funding milestones that are, would say, staggered in a way that ESA funding is now, because we cannot wait until 2028 MFF, because this would be waiting for 3 or 4 years until the money would become available from the next MFF. So now ESA money is absolutely necessary in order to build up capacity, which is then taken over and continued in a much bigger scale by the European Commission. So yes, this works extremely well. We have very good consultations. I'm meeting Commissioner Kubilius again this week on Thursday and Friday in Rome. So this is a constant dialogue. We've built up task forces and working groups that are working every single day to make sure that our program proposals for the ministerial is well aligned with the preparation of the MFF from 2028 onwards.
Justement, sur le MFF, est-ce que vous pensez que la constellation Iris-Square est définitivement lancée, ou reste-t-il encore des incertitudes? Et quel sera le soutien de l'ESA sur ce programme majeur?
Yeah, no, Iris-Square is a top priority for Europe. Of course, France is very strongly engaged, and I think it's fair to say that France is really championing and driving this activity. And we are working very well together. This is led by the European Commission and by industry, the SpaceRISE Consortium. But ESA is certainly supporting fully the Iris-Square program through our own funding of the last ministerial, more than 500 million that have been provided. And also this time, this ministerial, I'm proposing a very solid project or program proposal to support the build-up of Iris-Square. We have a very important milestone coming up at the end of this year, which is the co-funding by industry, but also the architecture and preparatory activities that have been done this year led by the SpaceRISE Consortium. So there's a lot going on right now. But while we are building up the constellation, which should become operational in 2030, we are already starting with precursor services, GovSatcom in particular. OneWeb is another one at low Earth orbit, where we are already using technology and helping to build up technology in order to really build up Iris-Square together. It's absolutely necessary, top priority for Europe. We need secure communication as a top priority for our defense users, for our civilian users, and this is something that would also become the backbone of the future ERS and EOGS program when it is as we are building it up. So yes, absolutely committed, and we have a very strong proposal about 600 million on the ESA side that we want to commit or to propose to member states to subscribe to support Iris-Square.
Peut-être une dernière question, Joseph. Il y a eu 2 lancements cet été à Kourou avec Ariane 6 et Vega C. On a l'impression que la crise des lanceurs est aujourd'hui derrière l'Europe. En dehors des lanceurs, et ce sera peut-être le mot de la fin, quelles sont les priorités de l'ESA en matière d'autonomie stratégique?
Yeah. No, the launcher crisis is over. Yeah, so thank you to all of those who have made this possible. I think everyone has been delighted to see the successful inaugural flight of Ariane 6 on the 9th of July last year. I can tell you myself, a huge weight was falling off my shoulders, about 500 tons of weight, which is the weight of the Ariane 6 rocket. But really, to say that this has been a very important milestone, of course, for the European Space Agency, but also for France in particular, but for Europe as a whole, because we need independent access to space. Vega C, of course, is the medium-sized rocket. Again, we had 3 successful launches of Vega C. We had 3 successful launches of Ariane 6, the inaugural flight in summer last year, CSO-3 in March this year, and just very recently we had the METOP second generation satellite together with Sentinel-5, which was also launched. So really we are, I would say, in good shape. So now we are ramping up. We have flights coming up in November. We have the Sentinel-1D launch in early November, which is the next big flight of Ariane 6. Plus we have, of course, Vega C flights as well. So yes, there we are in good shape. As you also mentioned, Michel, in addition to Ariane 6 and Vega C, we are building up the new launchers, the European Launcher Challenge. We have 5 candidates that we have selected, among them MySpace, but also the other four, which are well known. And we are now in the midst of discussing with member states the preparation of the funding of these new launches for the ministerial, and obviously then funding them through an anchor tenant funding scheme where we are a customer and let the industry develop their own rockets and their own launch services according to their own industrial setup and their own technology that they are choosing. So yes, while of course we guarantee access to space with Ariane 6 and Vega C, we are also undergoing a paradigm shift to a new generation of launchers. Of course, it will take a long time until they are becoming heavy launchers, but yes, I think we are really on the right path. If I may, and this is something that is extremely important for all of us, the decision of Sevilla in 2023 is now fully implemented step by step. There are 4 pillars, and all 4 pillars are now being implemented. Some of them has been done already, and the others are being implemented right now. But the backbone obviously is Ariane 6, Vega C, to have guaranteed access to space for Europe, which is essential for all the other space infrastructure which we are launching. So yes, I'm feeling confident, and of course now the challenge will be the ramp up. We are working on it with our teams and Ariane Group and Arianespace and Avio and all the companies involved. It's going well. I mean, there's always complications on a daily level, I can assure you. But overall, I think we are on a really good path, and we have really mastered the launcher crisis, I would say, pretty well and pretty impressively.
Merci Joseph. Je vous demande de l'applaudir chaleureusement.